Now you're going to want to take one of your stubs of Schedule 40 PVC and you're going to ream it out on the inside just a little bit. And I'm going to do this with scissors to show you how it's done. But if you have a Dremel, do this with a Dremel because I usually use a Dremel. But you just take your scissors and you open it up kind of all the way or like this. You can do it different ways. But you just kind of want to cone out using your scissors the inside of this to start funneling it just a little bit. And if you have sandpaper, you can do this with sandpaper also. And I'll show you why we're doing this in a second. But we just want to funnel it out a tiny bit. If you can kind of see there, there's a tiny ridged funnel. It's not that big at all. But, so we can take one of our 4-inch lengths of CPVC and kind of fit it in here. And we're just going to hammer this CPVC into the PVC, just like that flush. Alright, and the funneling definitely helps you get that set in there. I just hammered it in. The funneling definitely helps you get that set in there, so you can hammer it down and it'll just kind of squeeze your CPVC into the PVC. And here we are going to stick it on top in your bushing, like so. And if you want to, you can also put a little bit of goop or super glue or something to seal the little gap in between the two pieces of pipe, because there is a tiny gap and air can technically escape through there, but I'm not going to do it. It's just a little thing that if you want to, that's optional. Once you get to this point, you can test how your seal is or how your blaster is firing by pulling back on your plunger rod, putting a dart in the front here, and just pushing forward and see if it works. And yep, that worked great. And that's just a way to see, okay, yeah, I'm making progress here. So you can actually see that this is a fireable Nerf blaster, technically now, but not yet a bow. Alright, and now I took this is my large 1/4 inch PVC T, and I viced it up and drilled a small number 6 hole as centered as I can. I don't really have a method for centering, but I just kind of eyeballed it and used that little ridge in the middle to center as well as I can a number 6 hole. And I do that simply because I want to get this 5/8 inch boring, speed boring spade bit down here, and it's just much easier to center that little middle thing when I have something set for me. And especially when it's this long, as you can see, it's really long. It's hard to control and center. So I do this first. If you get a shorter spade bit, or if you get an actual just a 5/8 inch drill bit, then that would work just fine. Just go straight for that. Whatever works for you. But we do need a 5/8 inch hole here. Also, if you do have a Dremel, you can make a 1/2 inch hole, and then use your cone grinding bits, kind of showing you right there. And your goal is to be able to fit a drum, a 5/8 inch. This is a grinding drum, but if you have a sanding drum or something like that, you just want that hole to be 5/8 of an inch, and Dremel is a very nice tool to open that up. Okay, and this is what it should be like when you get the T on the plunger tube, on the front of the plunger tube. And so your little piece of CPVC is sticking out. If your hole isn't exactly center, like mine, it was not exactly center, you'll need to widen it a little bit just to allow it to fit through. And you can use a Dremel or sandpaper or whatever method you feel like is good, just to widen that hole just a tiny bit to allow for more room for error. But it was kind of a pain to get the T on the plunger tube, because when you have the nested system like this, hammering all this stuff together kind of pushes out the plunger tube, the end a little bit. I don't know if you can really see that, but it's just ever so slight. And so it did take a hammer to get this fit on here. You can sand the ridge off of the bushing and just goop it in there, but I just don't do that. You can if you want, and it'll definitely make things a little bit easier for you. But if you don't really care, you're lazy, and you have a hammer, then by all means do this. Okay, once you've got that hammered down, you can screw it in if you wish. I'll be doing that later. And then you're going to take your 1 1/4 inch to 3/4 inch bushings and just press them in on either side, like so. And just try to get them as flat as you can. Press them down, and that's where the bow arms will go. Okay, now take your 6-inch pieces of 1/2 inch CPVC and wrap both ends in about 6 layers of electrical tape. And I say 6 and about 6 because it really depends on, of course, your electrical tape and the inside diameter of your 3/4 inch pipe. Because now we'll be taking this and just shoving it into the end of the pipe like so. So it will end up like that. And it'll just be completely flush with the 6 inches of pipe inside of the 24 inches of 3/4 inch CPVC. And once you do that, that should be kind of a hammer tight fit or really tough because we don't want that moving around at all. Then we're going to cut V notches in our 3/4 inch CPVC. And notice this is not the end with the 1/2 inch in it. That's on the other end. And just cut kind of a V on either side with your hacksaw. And these are kind of small. I'm going to need to widen them up a little bit. But really the width of it depends a lot on what rope you're using and the diameter of your rope. So I'm using thicker rope. I'll have to make thicker V's, and I'll show you those when I'm done. Okay, I've cut my V notches, as you can see, right through on both sides of my 3/4 inch CPVC bow arms. And on the other side here, where the CPVC is on the inside, the 1/2 inch, I wrapped about 1.5 inches away from the end. I wrapped electrical tape, and this is 15 times around. And as you can see, I kind of tapered it. So when I shove it in the bushing, like here, it'll be easy to shove in, and it'll be nice, snug, tight fit. And even when I wobble it, it shouldn't come out. Kind of like this. It should be really, really tight. You should have to push it down pretty hard to get it in, but it should still be removable. You should not have to use a hammer. And so I'm going to put these in for you, and we'll talk about string. Alright, the first thing you want to do is get your plunger rod as far down towards the front as it will go. And then you just want to lift it up a tiny bit, just like 1/2 or 1/4 of an inch, and drill a hole. And the hole should be just bigger than the size of your string. So you can see I push it down and it's completely gone. But just, you know, you can just pull it up a tiny, tiny bit. And that way, when the blaster is fired or dry fired, then it'll impact the string and the plunger head won't hit all the way down. And that's all you have to make sure you do. And you want to get your string right here, your rope, whatever you're using. And you're going to try to thread it through, if I can get, oh geez, that's not good. I'm using braided cord, as you can see here, and I just stripped it accidentally.